Welcome to Podsauce. All right, we're going to get right into this because if you are into reading and you're into wine and you're into podcasts, you're going to like this one. So this is, we have the hosts of Reading Between the Wines, Winnona Glass and Keagan Moore. Ladies, thank you for joining us. I'm going to give a little brief description of your podcast and tell me if I'm wrong, but this is basically a book and wine club podcast. You talk about a book that you guys have read together, and then you talk about a good wine or a pairing for reading this book. Is that pretty accurate?
Perfect. That's about right, yes.
So how did this start?
So it actually is something that I wanted to do for a while, but the pandemic obviously gave me time to pursue new opportunities. And so I really tried to put together, I've always had this vision of like, perhaps I'm one of those people who may forget to read the book for book club. And so we don't have the Cliff Notes versions for adults anymore. And so I wanted to put something together that was really easy for people to listen to on their way to book club, to at least for them to be able to speak intelligently about the book, even if they hadn't read it. And so that's really the first part of our podcast. So on your way to book club, you can listen and know a lot about a book. So we pick books that are very book club friendly. And then on your way home, the second half of our podcast is all about wine to make you a more educated wine buyer. And so Keagan and I were able to connect. And like I said, we are not in the same parts of the country. So we get together and we drink a lot of wine and we read a lot of books and we have a great time together.
Is this one of your favorite forms of self-care? Because for me, reading, yes. Escapism.
Absolutely.
And then wine. Pandemic.
Yes.
Need I say more?
Oh, right. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And so it definitely was a way. I was a pretty avid reader, and then especially during the pandemic, there was nobody to talk to about books, right? Because we weren't getting together, especially at the beginning, and nobody knew what was going on. And so it really was a way for us to just talk about books, something that, we wanted to get our readers involved and in different ways, people who follow our podcast. And so it's really grown. We have 23 different countries that listen to our podcast right now.
Dope.
That's amazing. And I want to know, when are you guys putting out the bonus episode of you just getting sloshed before you talk about the books? That's what I need in my life.
That could be the episode we blend the wine that we always talk about.
I want it to be like drunk history, but it's drunk book reviewing, and it's just, you can barely get through it.
I really feel about this book. Just letting it rip. Now, Keagan, you're a sommelier.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it entails being a sommelier? Did you have to go to a particular type of school to be certified in wine and all of these other things?
Well, it's kind of a tricky conversation. Some people consider only sommeliers that work in restaurants. Mm-hmm. And since COVID, I have not worked in a restaurant. Mm-hmm. There's two main paths. The WSET is the European version. I've gotten up to level 3 with that for wine. And then the Court of Master Sommeliers is an American-based institution, and they've had some controversy, but I am certified, which is like the second level with them.
I find this so fascinating. I want to know, how many bottles of wine do you have at your house right now?
150 that I know of and counted.
Oh my God, when are we coming over? Yes.
Dax is like, say less.
Say less. We will be there.
Because the party is at your house.
Okay, on that note.
There's often controversy with my roommate on how much wine I have in the fridge. The wine to food ratio is high.
It's so funny you say that, because I ended up getting a little small portable. In my mind, I call myself a bootleg sommelier. I know nothing about legs and tannins and things like that, but it just makes me sound a little more sophisticated whenever God, blesses me to be out on a date.
What is that?
Right. Date. Sounded familiar. But I do know, I love a full-body cab. And one of my favorite books to read right now is A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. So have you ladies thought about putting that book into your book club? I feel like it'll just be such a great addition. Are you taking suggestions?
It's absolutely, we're taking suggestions. It's one of my favorites as well. I actually have a quote in my bathroom from that book. So it's a wonderful book. I love that one. So we could certainly put that in there.
And a great wine that I would like to recommend, Keagan, Don't know if you have this in your repertoire, but Black Girl Magic. Get into it.
Oh yes.
The McBride sisters, their cab
Yeah, the
private
Red
collection.
Blend, it's such a great story.
So good. Oh, you're
yeah.
familiar.
I am. They have a Sauvignon Blanc as well from, the sister in Marlborough in New Zealand. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's go, sis. Let's go.
So, Keagan, what is your thought process behind pairing a wine with a book? I know it sounds silly, but like when you guys are talking about a book and then you go, okay, now I want to introduce a wine, what goes into that?
A lot of it's what's in the book itself. Sometimes it's super easy, like it's a wedding and we're serving champagne. So let's talk about champagne because a lot of people don't know about the actual process. Sometimes it's a little bit of a stretch.
So what you're saying is if it's murder, it's going to be a cab because you need something.
Oh yeah, something thick for
Something heavy. We need something heavy.
And then sometimes it's a stretch, you got to work it in. There might be a grape or maybe a region if they like travel to Tuscany, something along those lines. But there's always something you can tie in, I think, in most books.
What's been your favorite episode, ladies, to do thus far, both with wine and book, that just came out masterful?
Vampires and Vouvray was one of my favorites.
Talk
we did,
to me.
the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and then we paired it with a Vouvray because that's a good book club drinking wine. What's a
Vouvray?
Keagan.
Vouvray is a region in the Loire Valley in France, and it's kind of tricky because it can pretty much be anything. It can be a still white wine, it can be sweet, it can be sparkling. Lots of variations, but ultimately based on Chenin Blanc, the grape.
It was just it was about these women who are in a book club together and they figure out they need to, that there's a vampire who lives among them and how they worked through that and all did it under the guise of book club. It's a very good October read.
What's the name of the book again? I'm actually interested.
The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires.
So random.
Is it comedy? It sounds comedic.
There are some laugh out loud moments. There's some areas I had to skip through. It's got a little bit of both.
A little gory.
Wait. Why did we skip through them?
I'm not a big blood, guts, and gore kind of person, and you can imagine to take care of a vampire, it is not the simplest way. So
yeah, one of the ladies had some hunting skills and some knife skills. So
wait,
yeah,
there was had to skip through that part.
There was a bloody bathtub involved. Like I had to skip through a little bit of that.
Oh wait, did they discover that this person was a vampire, or was she showing up like she was part of the PTA? You know what I mean? Like in full. Oh, they discovered that she was.
It was a guy. He was a smooth talker, somebody that everybody liked, everybody enjoyed being around.
I know that's right.
Yeah, so the book was good, the wine was good. Our conversation about it was obviously very good because we're both from the South. So we could identify with the Southern Book Club portion of it.
Well, okay, Winnona, are we really quantifying Denver as the South?
I don't know. I'm originally from South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Welcome back. Welcome back, Keagan. Welcome back. Welcome back. For a minute there, I was like, all right, Winnona, now look.
No, we're not considering Denver the South.
Okay.
We'll take South Carolina.
Okay, we will take South Carolina. Welcome back to the fold, Keagan. Welcome back to the fold.
So what? We are a podcast discovery show, but I'm going to put a little twist on it this time.
Okay.
I want a podcast that you guys are listening to that you would recommend to our audience, but I would also like a book recommendation and a wine recommendation.
Let's go, Dax. Let's go.
So a podcast that I really like that is it's very different than what Keagan and I do, but it's Business Wars, where they kind of go in depth on two different companies that are either like at war with each other or have gone to war with each other. Like the one that I did during December was about Hallmark versus Netflix versus Lifetime for the December movies.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's always a good Chardonnay that you can pair with a Hallmark movie, that's for sure. But I also think that if you're getting into the cryptocurrency type podcast that they have when they were talking about cryptocurrencies, you're definitely going to have to go with more of a Merlot for that.
You need a bourbon barrel wine for that. I mean,
that's one of my favorites,
honestly.
actually. I love the bourbon barrel wines.
Talk to me, Winnona. Talk
Yes,
to me.
the bourbon barrel Zinfandels or the bourbon barrel Grenaches are some of my favorites.
Listen.
There's a wine called Southern Belle that's actually aged in Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels. They were one of the first to start this trend. I lived in Kentucky for a while, and so obviously bourbon is a big part of my life in addition to wine. So putting those two things together makes me very happy. And Southern Belle does it very nicely. And so it's a different type of wine every year that's aged in those bourbon barrels, and it has a very bourbony finish. And the wine, the juice, to Keagan's point, the juice that's inside is really good too.
So wait, so the brand is Southern Belle, and then they just have a. Okay, I need to find that, or I will send you my address.
Okay.
I do like
make
this.
That happen.
This Business Wars podcast sounds really fascinating. I love that topic. So thank you for that recommendation. Keagan, what about you?
Well, I'm kind of all over the place. I listen to a lot of investing podcasts as well as kind of nerding out on neuroscience. Huberman Lab, I'll throw out there. It's a professor at Stanford University. Super nerdy, but kind of gets into like nootropics and how to take care of your brain. So I don't know the best wine to pair with that. Maybe something lower in alcohol, like an Octa Riesling. But another one I'll shout out is Bedrock Wine Conversations. It's just for one winery, the Bedrock Wine Company. It's the son of the guy that started Ravenswood. If you're familiar with Joel Peterson, his son is Morgan Twain Peterson. And it's one of the few winemakers that are also a master of wine.
Dope.
They also have a lot of giggles, very humorous podcast, but also like they super nerd out on viticulture and things like that as well.
You know what, Keagan? I think if you like things about like neuroscience and all that good stuff, because it goes way over my head. Lex Friedman is a podcast that I feel like. Have you heard of that one?
Yes. He's very cute and single, and if I ever meet him one day, I know to wear a very beautiful red dress.
We could try to quarterback that thing for you, but
I think he's at MIT, so.
Ooh, that goes way over my head. I would like to be invited to the wedding solely for the wine. Here for the liquor. I'm here for the liquor. But I got into that podcast because he actually did an episode with the guy who helped bring, is it Barry Scott into the fold? The pilot for the Medellin cartel. Such a great episode. Such a great episode. Has nothing to do with what's going on at MIT. He was using his brain for a completely different hustle. But yeah, great podcast.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. And for anyone who wants to check out their podcast, Reading Between the Wines, we will put up a link on podsauce.com.
We should put up the episode to the vampires. That sounds so good.
It does sound good.
Like a good time.
Or if you just cheated on your book club, you don't want to read the book, this would be the podcast for you. So Winnona, Keagan, thank you so much for joining us. This is Podsauce.
Oh, wait, I'm going to send you both my address. You know what to do.